Okay, I'm just checking out some settings here. The recording is going. Just want to make sure you guys can hear me.
I hear you.
Hey, thanks, Joe.
We hear you.
Hey,
I'm here.
thanks, guys. Okay, so I got a few interesting things I'd like to discuss this evening. One of them is the note event for next week. Let me just get some here. So yeah, we've got a note event in Dallas, and it's called Note Expo. A little bit about Note Expo. I've been going to this on and off for about, I think 5 or 6 years now. And it's one of the bigger events, meaning they get a lot of attendees, a lot of people that have been in the note space for a while. It's more, I would have to say that there are less beginners there than any other place. It's a destination. It's not cheap to stay in the hotels. It's very interesting dynamic, this meeting. A lot of some of the heavier hitters are there, and I looked into getting a sponsorship table there. I guess this was 2017. Actually, Julie got involved and looked at all the different possible ways that we could actually advertise and market. One of them that kind of appealed to me was sponsoring a lunch, because I like food, and I figured, hey, and so my daughter got back to me and after looking the program over, she's like, you do not want to sponsor one of these lunches. If you want to be associated with the lunch that they serve, not a good idea. Because the free lunches that they serve in there were not the greatest quality. And I'm very glad, because the lunch that I wanted to sponsor was a Saturday afternoon lunch, and it was horrible. I would have been so embarrassed if I sponsored that. So we looked into all the other different marketing tools that Eddie Speed puts on. And let me tell you what, I got excited. The first time I went to Eddie Speed's event for, I think it was 2014 or 2015. One of them was Note Expo, and the one before that, I was invited down with Kevin Cordell from Madison Management as his guest, because he had a, I think he had a table there. I can't remember. Anyway, he was invited to student appreciation. And I looked into, this was a 3 or 4 day event, and I looked into all of the different marketing techniques and opportunities that were available. And this guy, Eddie Speed, made money on every one of these facets, from getting your logo on your room key for the hotel to get into the room, right? You can get a logo on one of the bags that people carry around. You can actually sponsor a charging table where everybody plugs in their USB wires, sponsored by Microsika Note Conference or whatever. I looked into it. I'm like, this guy is killing it. He's killing it with, and everybody on this call should consider running a note event. You don't have to be an expert really at anything other than these events. Go and see what other people are doing and find out how people are marketing these things. You can make a fortune running an event like this with all the different marketing techniques. So anyway, I literally decided that I was going to hold my own note events because I saw how Eddie Speed was doing his thing. And so we started holding Note Vision events. I didn't make any money on those events because I was too busy figuring out how to have a good time than to market it out. But it is definitely a doable thing to hold an event. So you can rent a table for $5,000. You can get brochures. You can actually pay him $1,000 to get a brochure, your brochure dropped on every chair at the event in the mornings. $1,000 or $2,000 for that. I mean, it's ridiculous, but it works, and you can make a heck of a lot of money holding events, any type of events. So we looked into the 2017 one and decided against the lunch, decided against all the other options. But what I came up with was I wanted to be unique and different. And it was actually Eddie Speed's guy. I can't remember his name, Bob, whatever. I said, so he was sitting there for Colonial Funding, which is Eddie Speed's parent company or something, where they sell notes through Colonial Funding at the time. I saw him at an equity trust event, and that was like a 5-day event I spoke at, and it was huge. There was like 700 or 800 people at this event, and he had a table at this equity trust event. And after about the 4th day, I'm like, Bob, are you still sitting there? He goes, I've seen the same people walk by my table 1,000 times. This is so non-productive time for me to sit here and just over and over and over. So I wanted to be unique. I didn't want to get a table and sit there and watch the world go by. And so I decided to look into getting a penthouse suite and actually have the event catered and just hold the event after hours. I didn't want to step on anybody's toes as far as, hey, there's another meeting going on, and I took away from that crowd or audience. I didn't want to in any way step on Eddie Speed's toes. So I figured by renting the penthouse, because it was a note event, that maybe he would get credit from the hotel, which he did, because not only did I rent a regular room, but I also rented the penthouse for this party and for my kids to stay in during the event itself. So it worked out really well. And what it comes down to, guys, is how well do you want to do in this business? How big do you want to get at, and it also comes down to having the confidence that people are actually going to show up. So what we did was Julie and Jim and I walked around I made up these business cards. It was a business card size invitation. And when we figured out that the room was on the 20th floor, we put the room number on. 2021 was the room number. And we walked around and we talked to people, and we talked to all different kinds of people, strangers, but we gave ourselves a reason to introduce ourselves to strangers. And it was to hand out, if we decided that we were gonna hand out the invitation to, I think I printed 100 invitations up. And we walked around and said, hey, listen, this thing's going to be catered with barbecue, and we're going to have beer and wine and some whiskey up there. And why don't you stop in and have lunch or have dinner on us? Because it was a 7 o'clock event, I think. And so we got the place filled up, and people were talking about it. It was very unique. Now I've seen other conferences that do similar things. Like when I was in manufacturing, the companies that made the manufacturing machines would actually they would get a buffet room at a different hotel than where the event was being held. and they would invite us over, and they would actually shuttle us over to their extravaganza, and some of them were fantastic. These were big corporations that were creating $1 million machines, and they had lamb chops and all great food. And that's where the idea came from for me to get that penthouse, was the week-long party that we went to when we go out to Chicago, to McCormick Place for the trade show events. So it really depends on how big you want to get, what kind of business you want to drum up, and and the results that you want to end up with at the end is going to be determined by the amount of unique strategies that you put into place to be a little different than the next person. And it's very important to really have enough confidence in yourself and in your company, no matter what your company is. If you really are serious about getting into the note space, you need to be recognized. I'm doing an essay right now on actually marketing yourself to get put in front of other people so that you'll make great connections and relationships down the line. It really is all about the relationships that you have with banks, with bankers, the relationships you have with the attorneys in the workplace, relationships with other investors that maybe are not as aggressive as you are with capital or with working the note business, but they do have capital, let's say. So go out there and be unique. I'm actually having these shirts made just for the conference. I thought that, it'd be really cool. I'm going to have, I don't know, 6 or 8 of these shirts with my company logos on them to go the extra step, because I don't see that often. People walking around just with a regular sport coat on, without any type of logo or anything. It's very interesting. There was a local guy over here in New York, Nick, would hold monthly events. He'd actually hold them bi-weekly. He'd have one event a month in New York and one event a month in New Jersey. And so he only got $100 for a table. And even when I wasn't trying to promote Note Conference or anything, I would just get a table and just sit there. And people would come up to me and they're like, "So what do you got going on?" "Well, I invest in non-performing notes." "Oh, really?" By having a table, I didn't have to go up to anybody and try to get awkwardly introduced to someone, because for $100, which is the best $100 I ever spent when I went to these things, was I just sat there and I got to meet people. And I've met some incredible people that have turned into business relationships that's lasted for years for $100. It's really too good to be true. And so these events are really profitable, not only for the person throwing the event, but people that actually will go out of their way to market themselves. And it truly is all about marketing first. You need to market yourself. And a lot of people are sitting there going, "Yeah, what do I have to market? What do I have to offer?" And you have a lot to offer, because when you're out marketing and talking and self-promoting yourself, some strange things happen. You start getting ideas on how you can help other people become profitable themselves. You will form partnerships, relationships, business connections that will last you a lifetime. And so I'm really looking forward to this Texas event. I know some people that are on this call that are going. Jimmy and I, my son is going, and we're going to meet down there. And we're really, I mean, especially because of COVID, really looking forward to getting out and getting back into connecting with people and connecting with new business relationships. So that's very important. I would love to help anyone with this. Just reach out to me and say, just reach out to me. And even if you say, listen, I don't even know what you're talking about. Like, what could I do for me? How could I actually do what you're telling me to do? What do I have to offer? How can I offer that? What should I do? How should I market that? And I'll be happy to talk to you right now on this call if you are interested in saying, okay, so where do I start? What do I have to do? Because I was never good at this. I was never taught this. It really happened by accident, like most things that happen to me by accident. And then I start noticing how other people are doing it, just like I noticed how Eddie Speed is holding these events. And if you guys want to hold an event, let's talk about that. Events are cool. They're fun. They are exciting, to say the least. I know that my family has helped me with, I think we've done 3 Note Vision events so far. It takes a year of preparation to put one together. Some of you people on this call have gone to my events, and it looks easy from when you just show up, and yeah, everything goes smooth and food is there on time, and just it's like, wow, that was a great show. You leave on Sunday night, and you got a chance to meet all these new people and everything. But the behind the scenes is amazing. The problems with parking, the problems with caterings not showing up, the problems with rain, and people, the problems with picking people up from the airport, or rides that didn't show up, and now I had to send one of my kids out to go pick someone up, and this person needs a handicapped spot, and things that you just don't think of, that you just didn't cover until the day of or the morning of. It really is something that everyone should experience. It'll make you either totally want to do it next year, or you'll never do it again, type of thing. Anyway, so if anyone wants to discuss that right now, put it in the chat box. I'll call you up. As far as, like, where do I start? What do I do? The way it worked for me in the very beginning was I took to this note business like nobody's business. I was so gung ho. It was, and I still am. It's ridiculous to think back where I didn't have a network, and I do recall it. 2006, I didn't know anybody. I didn't even know anybody that was investing in real estate until I got on these conference calls. And that's when my world opened up. And I realized that there is a lot of really smart people in this world that were actually willing to talk to me. Because up until that point, all the really successful people were over there and I was over here. I knew that there were successful people out there, but they were in country clubs. I wasn't in a country club. They were in yacht clubs. I wasn't in the yacht club. Where else do these people commingle and operate? Well, they were getting on these investor calls and wanting to learn the note business. These people were already successful at something else, and they knew now that they needed to put their money into something. What was it? What were they going to put their money into? And they put their money into note investing. They put their money into other funds that were investing in notes. And I realized that these were the people that I wanted to hang out with. But how could I get them to hang out with me? Well, I had to provide a more, I had to provide better quality content than what my mentor was actually supplying to us. So what does that mean? Well, so my mentor, there's all of these different side businesses that go along with note investing. Side businesses like self-directed IRAs, and that's the topic I want to talk about next. Self-directed IRAs, my mentor did not know much about self-directed IRAs. He knew that they existed. He may have even had one, but he didn't talk about it on the call. He didn't share with us too much about it. So I took it upon myself to be that person, to be the one that knows more about self-directed IRAs than my mentor does. I didn't know more about the note business than my mentor did at the time, but here was a segment of note investing that was pretty darn important to me, because all I had to invest with was my 401k that I had in my previous job. That's it. That was every dime to my name. And I needed to know as much as I could about self-directed IRAs, because that was my whole ball game. And so I went to every website I could. I took as much information down as I could about self-directing. I even figured out how to get around some of the, do I want to say requirements? So to purchase an existing mortgage at the time, and even now, what's needed, the custodian needs to see the collateral file, the note, the terms of the note, and the mortgage itself. But I couldn't get that because I didn't buy the note yet. I didn't have those documents to share with my custodian. So that was a problem because these notes were selling quick, and they didn't have time for me to take 2 weeks for my custodian to go and read through the documents. So what I did was I looked at all of the different directions of investments that I could make with my custodian, everything that was available. And I said, so which one of these things fits the best for my limited time situation of getting the money fast over to the note seller? And I came up with an unsecured loan. I was making an unsecured loan to the company with my IRA money in the amount that the note purchase was for. So the note purchase was for $26,500. I would make out an unsecured loan and loan it to this company, and the custodian had no problem wiring that money overnight once they received the documents of an unsecured loan. But a secured loan was a freaking nightmare to get the funds over because they had to see everything. But they understood real easily what an unsecured loan looks like at 4%. And so that was my workaround. And every time we were on a mentor call and someone says, so what's the deal with self-directed IRAs? My mentor would go talk to Mike Rosica. He knows more about it than I do. And so I got people contacting me outside of this network, this education network. And I was like, wow, these people, I'm actually supplying content. And these people, they had no idea that I never graduated high school. They never asked me to see my diploma. They didn't ever ask me to see a master's in business or anything. They just want to know about self-directed IRAs. And so then I really started gobbling up info on these IRAs because I'm excited now. I'm like, wow. So one woman reached out to me and she says, how can I get my family members to invest with me in a self-directed IRA? How would I do that? Well, I had watched an Alan Cowgill, I actually bought his program, Private Lending Made Easy. Alan Cowgill is a stand-up guy who's been teaching about private lending for years and years, and he's a good authority if you're into acquiring private money. And so I had taken his Private Lending Made Easy course and I applied his techniques to the note business. So I told this woman, I said, listen, this is what I'm going to work up for you. I'm going to get with my custodian, my current custodian, and have them ship over how many relatives? She says, I have like 20 or 25 relatives. So I called up my current custodian. I said, can you send over 25 new applications? And they're like, absolutely. Because the person that I was talking to works on commission on how many clients they can sign up. And so this big box arrives with all of these beautiful folders with high glossy paper and explaining the benefits of self-directed IRAs. And I drove these things out to Queens where this woman lived. And I sat her down and I told her exactly what to do from Alan Cowgill's info. Go to your favorite restaurant that has a back room. Tell them you want to serve 25 people. And you're going to put one of these things in front of everyone. And you are going to, before the food is served, you're going to explain the tax benefits, not the note business. You're going to explain the tax business benefits of opening a self-directed IRA. And say nothing about notes, nothing about, all you're doing is sitting them down and telling them about self-directed IRAs. And then you serve the food. And then that's right. Once you're done with the explanation, take 45 minutes and explain all the reasons why deferring or opening up a Roth IRA is really everyone's benefit. Have them fill out the applications, gather up the applications, put them back in a box and serve the food. And then you have a good time. And she ended up raising $2 million doing that. And she was very thankful that I had taken all of this time out of my life to drive out to New York. It was a 2-hour trip out and 2 back to give her these brochures and lay out what she needed to actually do. I drew up an outline, points she had to hit on the tax benefits, everything that she needed to go over one by one. She was a smart person. She knew how to do that. And she raised $2 million because I helped her and put her on a map. So that's how you end up meeting good people. And that's how I started with my note conference. It was actually called Note Conference at the time. I then said, listen, I'm going to hold a webinar on how to use the self-directed IRA. And I'd get some of those people off of that group to come into my group and discuss the benefits of, let's say, self-directing. That was really the start for me. And when I realized that I could actually help other people because of my due diligence, uh, that's when my world changed. And that's when I realized that, hey, I don't need a high school diploma to get in the front of the room and talk about something that you better know what the heck you're talking about. And that's exactly what I did. I would hold a webinar on um, money lender professional. At the time, I was using Notesmith. I would hold webinars on how to use that crazy software. I was holding, and these were free. I just wanted to meet with people and and help them. And then people started coming to me for more and more information. And I would just go on from one thing. I learned how to use Notesmith, and then learned how to use time value 5, and then I figured out how to use a financial calculator. I would hold a webinar on that. And then someone would come up with they ran into someone who's got some notes for sale. Well, who are they going to bring them to? They bring them to me, and now I'm really in business because I went through the trouble to assist these people, and it always comes back to you. It doesn't have to come back directly from that same person. It could come back from someone different, but it always comes back to you when you help other people out. And that that was the start. That really was an interesting time in my life when I came to the realization that self-promotion, there's nothing wrong with self-promotion. I used to think it was conceited. I used to think that anyone who's out there, what my mother used to call it, blowing your own horn. Um, if you don't blow your own horn, no one else will. And so I firmly believed that I was helping people. That's why I didn't feel like I was being conceited. And as far as being in the front of the room, and uh, and I've gotten a lot of value out of that. And that's not why I did it. I did it because it just felt good. But people bring me notes. People people bring me notes. I had two funds actually go belly up, and they knew that I was in a space. They knew that I knew how to broker notes, and they both funds brought me their leftover product, and I bought all that stuff off of them, and it really put some nice money in my pocket because all they wanted was out, and I helped them get out. But had I not been the person that I was, I would not have gotten the opportunity to help them get out of the note business. And for that, I'm truly grateful because I helped them out of a bad spot. They bought they bought over their head. They did not apply the due diligence that was necessary to buy the good stuff, and they both funds got in over their head, paid too much for the product that they had, realized that some of the stuff at the price that they bought it was just not going to work. And so they're like, "Hey, Mike, I know you're a helpful guy, and I know that you've sold notes to people. Why don't you help me sell these?" And I did. That's how that's how it started for me. Like again, totally by accident. All I wanted to do was learn how to use my self-directed IRA to buy some really good quality notes, and in doing so, luckily my mentor at the time noticed that I did do a lot of research and I did kind of know what I was talking about, and he pushed people to me because he didn't want to take the time to do it himself. Uh, Fantastic. It's fantastic thing for me because When I quit my job, I didn't know what the heck it was. I knew it was going to be real estate related, but I had no idea that it was going to be this note space. I had no idea. And so again, if anyone needs any type of guidance in where to start with this for yourself, shoot me an email. I'd love to help you. I'd love to create content on this. I feel that so many people don't, so many people, my one coach that I took a program, he calls it being an extra in your own movie. Are you a star in your own movie or are you an extra? And he says most people just wait for life to happen to them, and that's just being an extra. And they're they're very busy watching other people do all this really cool stuff, but for some reason they just don't think that they're good enough to do it themselves. And you are, and that's the difference. And took me a long time to realize that. I thought I just took life the way it came instead of going out and getting it. And so it's been a great run for me, and it continues to be. We're going to have a good time down at this Note Expo, and I look forward to meeting some people. What I'm looking for now, the audience that I'm looking for now, is people that want to get into the note business, but they don't want to take the education. And I look at all the different. I look at all the different people that I've wanted to connect with since I got into this note business. So it started with wanting to connect with other note investors, just like that woman who raised 2 million bucks. I wanted to be on her side, her helping side. She was an up and coming note investor, and I wanted to hang out with up and coming note investors very early on. That was my first audience. My second audience was I wanted to meet people that wanted to learn the business because I was building an education platform and I wanted to help people get into the space correctly. And so I was now looking for potential students that I could help mentor. That was my second audience. Now my third audience that I'm looking for right now, and I'm using LinkedIn in the back of my mind where I was doing a lot of this connecting. My third audience was looking for bankers. So now my LinkedIn page now looks for bankers. If you look me up, you'll see that I am Vice President of Acquisitions, and I want to talk to other bankers that may have product for me. Now my audience has changed again to looking for people that understand the note business. They like the note business, but they don't have time to get involved. So they'd rather invest in a fund that invests in notes because they know that it's profitable. They know that it's a good, solid model, and they want to invest with someone who knows the business, who's been in it a long time. And so that's my new audience. People that want to get into note business, but don't want to sit there and learn everything that you guys are learning right now. So that's come fourfold now, as far as choosing the audience that you want to work with. And you should always be thinking about the audience that you want to attract. There are a lot of, he gets $40,000 or $50,000 for his 1 year education program. And there are a lot of his students that don't feel comfortable enough pulling the trigger once they go through the education program because there's not a whole lot of accessibility to the educators in that program. And I've heard this from many students that not a bad, I'm not by any means putting Eddie Speed down. I like the guy, but they come away not feeling comfortable enough to pull the trigger and buy some assets. And I never want that to happen to my students. I want you all to have the confidence, the knowledge, and the understanding that you can come to me if you are looking at some product, and I will help you, give you my best opinion as to what I think you should pay for the product, if you should pay at all. And so anyway, my point here is the audience that I'm looking for are possibly Eddie Speed's ex-students or current students. They know that the note business is good. They've got 40 or 50 grand to throw at an education program. They may have spent that money just to realize that, hey, this is not for me. We like the idea of the space, but it's too hands-on. It's too much work. It's too this, it's too that, it's too risky. Let me get with someone who knows what they're doing, and I'll invest with them. That's my target audience for next week. And hopefully I'll come across some of those people that are willing to invest, because I'm ready for the next wave to hit with non-performing product. It's, who was it? Yeah, I was on a webinar yesterday. They said, history doesn't repeat itself, but it rhymes. Meaning, it's not going to be the same thing over. It's not like they're writing a whole bunch of subprime loans right now. They are writing some subprime loans to the wrong borrowers, but it's not like it was in 2004, 5, 6, and 7. But it's going to look a lot similar. It's going to rhyme. That's what I'm shooting for. And if it does look similar with a lot of non-performing products, or hey, I don't care if things stay exactly the same as now. It's October. It's the end of October for everyone listening on the recording. And I think we're through this COVID thing, and it looks like the banks are starting to open up their note selling programs again. We're seeing a little bit more product than we did 6 months ago. So it's October of 21. And I think things or businesses are getting back to usual or normal. Starting to think about the loan sales that they've missed for the last 16, 18 months, haven't generated any income from that for that period of time. And hopefully they will be playing catch up and start their loan sales back up. And this time, I'm going to use other people's capital. I've got more than enough confidence now to actually do that. I was very leery in the very beginning. I didn't have someone to bounce my purchases off of. I didn't know anyone that was really good in the note space except for my mentor. And there's no way that my mentor was going to take the time to go through my note deals that I sourced from another place besides him. But I do have the time for you folks. And so you should have the confidence in knowing that, hey, if I come across some loans and I'm using other people's money to invest, I started a fund, you have my availability to help you and assist you in looking at those loans. And I want you to know that and feel confident about that, so that you don't miss the boat the way I did in the very beginning. We were looking at 3,000 and 4,000 loans at a time and picking out 20 or 30. And if that comes around again where I'm looking at 3,000 or 4,000 loans, I'm going for every one of them I can get my hands on. because it's been a fantastic run for the loans that I did purchase, and for all of the due diligence that I performed in the past, I know that I would have done very well with all the loans that I looked at, and not just the ones that I purchased. I'll just leave it at that. And I could have bought a lot more than I did. And so that's why we're opening up a note purchasing fund, and looking forward to this next tidal wave that I'm expecting to see. But like I said, even if things stay the same, which banks calculate a 4% default rate on every loan that they write, they figure out of 100 loans, 4 of these are going to go bad. So that's 4%. That's enough to keep us busy, even at 4%. When we were at the height of the crisis, I believe they were at 7 or 8%. So it's double of what they are now. I think 4% is still enough to keep us all busy. And so does anybody have any comments, suggestions, questions, things that they're working on that they're having trouble with, things that are working good? I'd love to hear from you.
Hey, Mike MJ.
Hey, what's up, MJ? I saw your comment about Note Vision.
Hey, man, I speak the truth. I was at a few of them.
Yes, you were.
So it's not really a question, but it's just inquisitory. You're going to start a fund. What does that mean?
Sure. So I started a fund years ago, and I never did anything with it. I found an attorney, the same attorney that Partners for Payment Relief used to open up what's called a private placement memorandum. And in a private placement memorandum are all of the guidelines and parameters that you as a fund manager have to operate in. Meaning you have to give quarterly reports to your investors. The only investors that you can have are what's called an accredited investor, which there are certain guidelines as to how much money that investor has as far as either income or assets that they actually own. I don't know about guidelines for that memorized. I think they changed them not too long ago. So I think the income has to be above, I don't know, the assets at maybe $1 million or $2 million. And those are accredited investors. At the interest rate that you plan on paying your investors back, how big the fund can get, whether you're opening up a $5 million fund or $2 million or what type of assets that the fund can actually purchase, which is non-performing first liens, non-performing second liens, real estate, apartment complexes. You have to be very specific as to the assets that these investors are putting their money into through the fund. The way that you raise capital is actually spelled out with the Securities and Exchange Commission as far as who you can actually solicit out for money. Meaning I just can't walk up to a guy on a street corner, a stranger, and hit him up and sell to him for the fund. All those guidelines are lined up through the Securities and Exchange Commission. You actually register with the Securities and Exchange Commission. They have the potential to audit you. They are aware of you and your fund and your private placement memorandum documents, and then you're in business. You go out and raise capital to the people that you are actually allowed to, people that are already in your circle of influence. I forget the guidelines as to that. This was 10 years ago. I was involved with this fund. So you have the people that you can actually solicit to, and maybe there's someone on the call who has more information on this, can chime in. Just see something here. Yeah, so okay, so MJ is saying I think accredited means over $200,000 per year, or if it's a joint return, then it would be 300,000 a year, and or $1 million in net worth. Thanks, MJ. So yeah, so it's what kind of returns will you offer limited partners in the fund? Will be some sort of preferred return or a waterfall? Yeah, these are all guidelines as far as how the returns are actually, how the people are actually going to get their money back, what time frame, and what type of interest rate. And so we have not gone through all of the procedures yet to get this fund to open with how we are actually going to give preferred rates. We're still in the early stages, but this again, folks, is why it's important for you to market yourself now before you have a fund. I see so many people do it backwards. They live like a hermit to themselves, and they don't say anything. And all of a sudden, oh God, now we got to go out and raise capital. Who do I talk to? Who can I talk to? Well, I've got so many people that I have been marketing to for so many years that's easy. I mean, I just have so many people that that are my audience that pay attention to me. I've been providing content through email for, I don't know, at least 10 years. And I have people approach me all the time wanting to get into some type of partnership with me. Why? And there's only one reason. It's because I'm out there, and I'm not shy to market. I'm not shy marketing myself. I got over that years and years ago. But let me tell you, there was a time when I wasn't over it. I was far from being over it. And, you know, when you practice something for a while, it actually, you know, it's funny. I'll actually say, boy, I haven't put an email out for a couple of weeks now. And that's when all of a sudden, all these ideas start popping into my head about things that I'd like to talk about in an email. And I just blast it out to people. If they open it, fine. If they don't, fine. If they unsubscribe, fine. If they resubscribe, that's fine. It's just good practice for me. And I like to stay in other people's eyesight, I guess you would say. People that, you know, I've got one investor. He goes, one guy that I've been investing in is the only partner, the only investor that I've ever taken money from directly to buy loans. He's 80 plus years old now. He goes, man, I've been following you an awful long time now, and I like the content that you put out. I'm like, really? You read those things? He goes, I think every one of them. And I really have seen it get better and better and better over the years, which is funny, because it just kind of flows out of me a lot easier now than it used to. I used to struggle for content. So yes, the marketing starts now, even if you're not going to start a fund for another year or two. It starts now, building that network now, going to these events now. So when I go to these events and I get somebody's business card and their email is on it, I put them into my system. They're going to get my emails because they gave me their business card. and I come home and I type them right into my, I use, what do I use? I use, I forget exactly, I use Realty Motor, but underneath Realty Motor is another company. Anyway, there's plenty of different email companies out there. MailChimp, which
Active Campaign.
Active Campaign. I just heard a voice say Active Campaign. Thanks, Julie. Yes, so I'm very happy with Active Campaign, but I think it's kind of outdated compared to some of the stuff that's out there now, which would be Constant Contact is a very good one. I think they're pretty reasonable as well. There is a monthly fee for Active Campaign. It's definitely a WordPress generated website, but I'm used to it. I've got an arsenal of emails that are in there that I've written for the last 10 years, which is pretty fun to go through and look at the old stuff. At the style that I wrote and the style that I write now. I think the last English class I was in was 10th grade, and it shows. But it's just the way I am. I like the way I write, and I understand it. That's how the words are in my head. They come out that way, with absolutely no, and I'm sure you can tell, absolutely no grammar correctness. It's just that's the way I think the sentence should be formed. And it's fun. I enjoy it. I get a kick out of it, and I get a kick out of it. So once in a while I get somebody that actually replies to me. So by self-promoting myself for all these years, raising capital is going to be pretty easy. Okay, let's see. What kind of I'm getting some questions. Oh yes, and the unsubscribers. Yeah, it's funny. One time, I had reached 1,000 members, and when my Active Campaign got to 1,000, it jumps me up to the next tier pricing. And so I put an email out, please unsubscribe. And I got like, I think 5 or 7 people that just unsubscribed. And I just had fun with this. I thought that was like the funniest thing I ever did. And then I did it again. I got 3 more people to unsubscribe. So it kept me under 1,000, kept me under that tier pricing. Which I got a kick out of that. But in 2007, when I found this note business, I really had to become a different person. I was not Joe Blow in the machine shop anymore. And I didn't want to be that either. I wanted to hang out with these people. I believe that either Jimmy and I or Julie and I, this group was actually getting together in Manhattan, downtown, in the really nice section, right before you get to the Village. And I think I took both of you kids there with me at one time or another. I couldn't remember who went first, but I got to meet my mentor, and I got to meet all the people that were on those calls. And it was a very exciting day for me because I had been talking to these people for a year. We all got to hear how each other's deals were going. We all got a chance to hear each other talk on the calls. Now these people got a chance to hear me talk about self-directed IRAs. And I got a chance to meet these people face to face. And it was fantastic because I realized that I had become another person and that I could actually hang with these people. And they didn't know what a big deal it was. They were already who they were. But I felt like I was the one that made all the changes to get different results. And that was exciting because when I started getting together with these people, I realized that I could hang with these people. And they accepted me without ever having a conversation about them accepting me or anything, or that I fit in or I didn't fit in. There was never a conversation about that. But for me, it was a big deal. And they could probably see how excited I was to get to see these people. So anyway, I don't know, it's kind of a weird story, but I like it. And it brings back a good feeling of me actually wanting to get those results. And it's funny because I'm really going to get weird on you now. So I had connected with my mentor at the time. He had another coaching program that he belonged to, which I got into as well. And it was all personal development stuff. And so the head of this program had a thing called a bridge call. And a bridge call in today's terms would be just like a Zoom call, right? Where you get on, it's scheduled, it's going to last for 45 minutes or an hour. You pay for it. And I'll never forget this bridge call that I did with this personal development guru. And I told him that I was studying under one of your students, and I gave him the name. And so he basically said to me, I can help you get anything that you want. I'm like, anything? He says, it's all the same, anything. And so I told him, I said, I want to close a deal where I sell a bunch of loans, I make a bunch of money, and how do I do that? He said, oh, that's easy. He said, I want you to lie down or sit down in a quiet spot, and I want you to picture yourself celebrating the closing of this transaction. And he said, and whenever you're thinking about this, all I want you to do is think about the celebration of you making a toast or whatever it is, however it is you celebrate. I'm like, yeah, it probably has to do something with alcohol. And you are at the dinner table, or you may be at a friend's dinner table, where your family and friends are all gathered around, and you throw a party and you celebrate the closing. You don't think about how you're going to get to the closing. You don't think about who you have to talk to find those loans. You have to picture yourself celebrating everything that has already taken place. Your subconscious will do the rest. Your subconscious will fill in the blanks. Your subconscious will tell you who to connect with. That's the beauty of this training that I have. The subconscious will fill in all of the unknowns that you have, but the only thing that you have to be known is that the closing took place and now you're in celebration mode. I'm like, that's easy, because I'm always in celebration mode anyway. He said, perfect. So every time I was thinking about, I don't know how this is going to close or who do I have to talk to, I go back to the celebration. And 3 months later, I closed on those 54 notes. I didn't make a dime, but I helped all my friends. I had 5 other friends. I helped them all get what they wanted, get the notes that they wanted. And we're still working on those notes 11 years later. That was in 2009. So that's 12 years later now. We're still working on some of those notes. So I really learned how to become a different person through that exercise and through meeting all the people that were on that call. It was a fantastic experience that has yet to stop. So listen, I know I've gone on quite a while here. Does anybody have anything that they need to discuss with me before we jump off here? Okay, so for the folks, I'll be seeing you in Texas next week. There is no call next Thursday. Looking forward to, I know some people that are on this call that are going down there. Looking forward to meeting you for the first time in person. That's going to be fantastic. And I will catch you all in 2 weeks. All right, folks.
Good luck in Dallas.
Thank you very much. I'm really looking forward to getting some serious networking done.
Yeah, I hope to be there next year.
Yes, you enjoy the thing that you're doing, Jewel.
Thanks. Talk to you guys soon. Have a good night.
Have folks. Thanks all. Good night.